Hello lovelies, welcome back to my book channel. I'm so glad you're here. I'm actually starting out this vlog after finishing because I realized that I actually started recording this vlog in the middle of September and it is currently the end of October and I'm finally getting this video out to y'all. For reasons that you'll understand in this video, it took me over almost a month to read one of the books that I read in today's vlog. So this video is very delayed. It was supposed to go out a month ago, but we're finally posting it and I hope that you love it anyway. I was planning on doing some kind of like spooky vampire gothic vlog for Halloween, but because things got moved around, I decided to post this video the day before Halloween. And I feel like books that intimidate me or books that scare me, which is the concept of today's video, as you saw by the title and thumbnail, still works for Halloween because these books are very scary and intimidating. And I did read them. And I hope that you guys enjoy watching me go through that process. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy the video. As always, subscribe and let's get into our month delayed reading vlog. Starting out this vlog in very peculiar outfits. I just came back from the hockey game at my school. Totally off topic. Let's talk about books. I started a book yesterday that has been terrifying, absolutely terrifying me for months. I've put it off forever and I finally am picking it up. So, not to keep you guys in suspense, that book for today's video is House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas. Oh my goodness. It's about time. Honestly, it's about time. This is the third book in her Crescent City series, which is her third series. I've read literally every single other book that this woman has published in her entire life besides Tower of Dawn and this book. I bought it and then it sat on my TBR shelf for a couple of months still. I'm like dreading reading this. Not that I think it's gonna be bad, but I'm just terrified. Do we see this? I'm sorry, this book is 830 pages. 830 pages. That is so many words. So many, I don't know, chapters and things to get through. Like, genuinely, I am terrified. I'm so intimidated and terrified for this book. Also, this series in general, I love Sarah J. Maas. Don't get me wrong, her Throne of Glass series is my favorite series of all time. She is a phenomenal fantasy writer and she's very popular for a reason. It's very well deserved. I totally stand by it. But the Crescent City series is my least favorite series by her. Now, granted, that's still a 5-star and a 4-star for the first two books respectively, so it's still a great series, but compared to like Throne of Glass, which is like god tier perfection, can do no wrong in my eyes, like this is not as good. But again, the series is still an average rating of a 4.5 star. Like we are still killing it, but I'm just so nervous for this book because there are just so many things going on in this series. This is urban fantasy. This is Sarah just doing so much. The plot is so detailed. There are like a million characters. I'm not even gonna lie. Like I was listening to the dramatized audiobook of this yesterday and the cast list, because there's a different cast member for each character, couldn't even fit in the description box of the audiobook. I had to go tap and like see more and see the entire full length of cast members. There are so many characters that have POVs in this book, but also, oh my goodness, the plot twist at the end of book 2 in this series. If you know, you know. I was screaming. It was absolutely insane. And so jumping into this, I was like, I can't wait. I've been like delaying this because I'm terrified, but also because if it's not like a high rating, I'm gonna be so sad because I want it to be so good. I want so badly to be obsessed with this. It's gonna be a long one probably. It's gonna be very complicated and a journey to get through this, but I cannot wait to embark on it. I'm currently on page, let's see, 94. So I'm like 10 to 12 or 13% of the way through this book. Barely in, but I have read almost 100 pages so far. It's just so much to work through. I'm just so excited. I'm nervous, I'm petrified, but I'm excited. We will see in this video how it goes. If you want to see more reading vlogs like this from me in the future, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And also comment below any ideas you have for vlogs for me because I will definitely shoot what you guys want me to shoot. Like, give a girl some ideas. But yeah, with that being said, let's get into today's reading vlog. All right, let's set our booties down and talk seriously about the Crescent City series by Sarah J. Maas. It feels so nice to be able to hold this entire series in my hand right now and know that I have all 3 books just perfectly matching. This is like the most satisfying feeling on my bookshelf, is collecting full series and having them all perfectly align and match. It's just like the best thing ever. But I know that as I'm going to talk about the book 3 in this series today, that is obviously my current read, a lot of you guys have not read all of these very, very chunky books. There is literally like probably 1,500 plus pages that you have to read to even get to book 3 in here, that many of you have not even touched, because obviously this is quite intimidating. And also it is supposed to be like the last series by Sarah J. Maas that you technically should read if you're reading them in order. So yeah, let's talk about it. Okay, first, book 1 and my thoughts, because I feel like I should explain the plot and the vibes of this before I even get into talking about my thoughts on book 3. So in this book, we follow Bryce Quinlan. And because there is just so much going on in this series, like so many plot points, so many characters, let me just read you the synopsis on the back so I don't have to like butcher what this book is about and you can just know exactly what it tells you on the back cover. So, half fae, half human, Bryce Quinlan loves her life. Every night is a party and Bryce is going to savor all the pleasures Lunathalon, also known as Crescent City, has to offer. But then a brutal murder shakes down the very foundations of the city and Bryce's world comes crashing down. 2 years later, Bryce still haunts the city's most notorious nightclubs, seeking only oblivion now, trying to put the past behind her. When the murderer attacks again and an infamous fallen angel, Hunt Athalar, is assigned to watch her every footstep, Bryce knows she can't forget any longer. As Bryce and Hunt fight to unravel the mystery, the thoughts they tug ripple through the underbelly of the city, across warring continents, and down to the deepest levels of hell, where things that have been sleeping for millennia are beginning to stir. So, kind of vague, but so exciting. This book is urban fantasy. This is Sarah J. Maas's first urban fantasy series, and we follow Bryce Quinlan and Hunt Athalar as they try to uncover secrets in this modern, urban, dark city. The secrets are personal to Bryce, and the mystery is personal to Bryce because of what happened 2 years ago that I can't spoil because it wasn't spoiled for me, thank God. When I read this for the first time, within the first 50 pages, your jaw is going to be like the plot twist in the first 50 pages is so intense, and it starts this book out on such a bang. And then you just follow Hunt and Bryce and their little enemies to lovers, and they meet so many characters. Literally every supernatural being you can think of is in this urban fantasy. We have vampires, we have vipers, we have shifters like werewolves, we have mermaids, we have angels, we have demons, we have Asteri who are like gods, we have archangels which are like below the Asteri but above the regular angels, we have fae, we have humans, we have witches, we have, oh, what else? Sprites, like little fire sprites, everything, to be honest. There's just so many characters, so many types of people, so many different like sectors of this big city, this big continent. And yeah, she just does her usual magic with this one. This was a 5-star for me. I was very scared going into it because I know it's a very, very different vibe than Ekotar and Throne of Glass. Going into book 2, I will not talk about plot anymore because this again would be spoilery because it just spoils the entirety of book 1. But this book I think was a 4-star for me. I still enjoyed following our characters, but I think this book is very much middle book syndrome. There is still incredible plot, so many character things happening, so many plot points. I mean, there are a lot of pages to work through. There can't be absolutely nothing in this book, but I think that this book gave me the vibe, and I said it in the video that I made last summer when I vlogged it, that it bit off a little more than it could chew. It seemed a little bit info dumpy. It seemed a little bit like we were just given information. I was like overwhelmed with the amount of stuff happening that it felt a little boring and hard to swallow. And so this book just wasn't executed the best in my opinion. It just didn't have the perfect, well-rounded bow of it that book 1 had, in my opinion. So this was 5, this was 4, but honestly it's very necessary to read this book, obviously, to go into book 3, but also like I wouldn't let this discourage you from finishing the trilogy, because if you can tell from the smile on my face, I am loving book 3 right now. So yes, this is the hardest one to get through in my opinion, but it was still fab, and we learned so much about the characters in this one too. There's just so much good knowledge. It was good. It was still 4 stars is still a fantastic rating, let's be so for real. But on the scale of Sarah J. Maas, it is one of my least favorite books by her because she's just so incredible that even the smallest bit of not incredibleness makes it the least favorite in my opinion. Now, going into House of Flame and Shadow, this is book 3. Again, I was scared for this book because I've heard a lot of bad reviews. People say it is so dry, so boring, too long. They say that she just couldn't handle the plot. They say that all the characters are just boring and drivel, and everyone is entitled to their own opinion, okay? You can have your own thoughts about this book, that's fine. That's what reading is for, so that everyone can make their own opinions on the different books that they read. But for me, I am eating this up. I'm eating this up. I filmed my intro to this video 2 days ago, just 2, and I am already halfway through this 800-page brick. I read 400 pages in 2 days. Like, are you kidding me? I mean, granted, I was listening to the audiobook for a lot of it, so I was like listening to it rather than like sitting in my bed and flipping pages, but still, like this was, it's going so well, and I'm so excited because I haven't read new content from Sarah since I finished this book last summer, because every other book that I read by her, it was either a reread or, again, this book. So I haven't had a chance to experience a new to me story since last summer, and this is so refreshing to be back in Sarah J. Maas's writing. I said this to my friend yesterday, but the more that I read, the more that I distinguish people's writing styles from each other, because I'm just ingesting so many different ways of telling a story. I can really start to get authors, and I've read, let's count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 and a half books by her at this point, plus multiple rereads. So I literally know Sarah J. Maas's writing like the back of my hand. And is that like predictability? No, it's just familiarity, and it's comforting, and it's fantastic because I love her writing and I love how she tells stories, and it's like being back with an old friend again, you know? Sarah does not know me, okay, but I know her. It's reminding me of, I can't even say that because it's a spoiler. Let's just say that they're all separated, which means that we get a lot of cuts in between their POVs within a chapter. Like you'll get 2 pages from Bryce's POV, then 2 pages from Hunt's, then 2 pages from Therian's, and 2 pages from Ethan's, and we circle around again. And that's one way that Sarah J. Maas helps you get through so many pages quickly, because you're not spent like 20 pages in one scenario. You are given a little bit and then cliffhanger and move along, and give a little bit to someone else, cliffhanger, and get back to the first one. And you are flipping and flopping in between different points of action. I feel like this one at the beginning, I genuinely was interested in every single person's POV, which doesn't happen often. I think where I am now in the middle, there's one little section, 1 or 2, that I'm just like, we can move on from this, we can. But it's necessary information for world building, for plot, for info, for us as the reader. Like it's necessary, and she gives it to us in bite-sized pieces, and it's very palatable, and there is a lot going on, but she delivers it in a better package, I think, than she delivered it in this book, from what I can tell. Again, it's been a year since I've read this, so maybe it's just like recency bias, but I think it's done a little better here than it was in here. There have already been some characters that I have hated in the past and love now. I won't even say their names because that would be a spoiler, but there is one person in particular that, if you know, you know. She reminds me a lot of Nesta from Ekotar, and the way that we don't like her at first, but we like her in this book. And I really like her character arc. I really feel for her at this point, and the way that Sarah can take a character like that you really despise at the beginning and you love now, it's a talent, to be honest, because it's just small little tweaks, and she kind of just, you know, moves your heart and you don't even notice it. And now I'm just in love with this character, and I think that she's just a badass and so amazing, and I feel for her so deeply. And I've been talking for like 15 minutes, so I'm gonna stop now before I actually finish this entire vlog with just this one clip. If you are new to Sarah, I wouldn't recommend this as her first series to pick up unless you are a huge urban fantasy fan. If you are, then yeah, pick this one up because it really does fit that bill in my opinion. But if you're not, or you're unsure, or you just want to kind of step into Sarah J. Maas, I vote read Ekotar first and then read Throne of Glass and then read this. That's like my preferred order, I think. That's that on these 3 books. I have half of book 3 to finish, and then the trilogy will be done. And I can actually complete this on my series to complete list. If you thought I was gonna come on here and talk this book, I'm not going to. I'm enjoying it so much. I'm enjoying it so much. Okay, I'm just gonna say I'm here. I was listening to the audiobook yesterday, so I'm not quite sure the exact page number, but let's just say I'm on page 588, which is about 2/3 of the way through the book, and there is still 200 plus to go. So that's Sarah J. Maas for you. Okay, I won't lie, I'm gonna be very candid with y'all with this, okay? This section that I've just read, like part 2-ish, was not as interesting as part 1. I loved part 1. I was hooked, I was invested, I want to know what happened next. In this middle part, we got a lot of like, not even world building because the world is built at this point, but there's just a lot of learning about the history and uncovering like past secrets and stories that people have had, and, you know, looking at archives and through books and searching through caves and stuff like that. It's still good, don't get me wrong, I'm still liking it, but I'm not as like gripped and intrigued. So it is slowing down a tad, but I think it's going to pick back up for like the very last remainder of the book. But I will just say though, I've been kind of thinking about it as I'm reading more and more in this. I don't feel the same way for these characters as I do for Ekotar, and definitely not as I do for Throne of Glass. I love these characters specifically, like, oh, who can I say it's not a spoiler? I love Rune, I love Ethan, I love Therian because he's a flirt. All that to say, like, the main characters, Bryce and Hunt, I just am not nearly as connected to as I am to like Feyre and Rhysand, for example, from Ekotar, or of course Aelin and Rowan from Throne of Glass. Like, they are they're mommy and daddy, okay? Aelin and Rowan are mommy and daddy. But like Bryce and Hunt, I don't care what they're doing. They're nice, they're great, they're doing their world saving stuff, but like I just don't have that much like connection deep down for them as I do for other characters in other series. So I guess it's just to say that like I am really enjoying this, but in context of all of Sarah J. Maas's work, like this is my least favorite series by her, which I think I mentioned before, but it's just like clarification for that. It's like, it's not bad. It's still fantastically written fantasy work. It's just, she has better stuff in the past, I think. And I honestly think that her magnum opus is Throne of Glass. She can write a million more books and I'll probably read all of them and probably love most, if not all of them, but it will never beat the nostalgia, the love that I have for Throne of Glass. I've been in that series since I was 13 years old. Okay. So like, you're just not going to compete with that, unfortunately. But this video is not about that series. It's about this one. So I think it's going to be the last check-in I do before I finish the book in general. I'm hoping for good vibes. I'm hoping for good vibes and a fantastic plot twist. Happy Sunday, my loves. How are we? I hope you guys are well. I am unfathomably busy today. So much to do: groceries, work, editing videos, editing photos, getting homework done, and the lighting is gonna be like in and out for this, and my hair is being annoying today. So overall, we are struggle busing just a little bit, but I still wanted to pick up the camera today because absolutely insane words coming out of my mouth right now, but I did indeed finish House of Flame and Shadow last night. Yeah. Hold the applause. Yeah, don't worry, hold it. It's fine. All 833 pages of this book have been consumed by me. I have officially finished this book, and I thought that I had finished the trilogy. Suffice it to say, I looked it up last night, and turns out she has contract signed for book 4 in this series, which I actually am flabbergasted by, because the way that this book ended, it seemed to wrap everything up in a perfect little bow. What possibly more could she write in this series with these characters? I feel like everyone ended their story, again, neatly wrapped up. What is she gonna do left? I'm not quite sure, but nothing has been announced yet as far as like title or release date or cover or anything. So like as of right now, what this trilogy is right now, I said trilogy because in my head it is only 3 books. We're counting it as finished right now. If she announces another book, obviously I will pick it up in the future, but for now, I finished what is out of the Crescent City series, and I'm not gonna lie, I feel so accomplished. Y'all saw the thickness of books 1 and 2. I feel like together I have read at least 2,500 pages in this series. I'm not even joking. Let's talk about it. I am going to do a quick spoiler section at the end of this, but I want to talk about non-spoilers first, my final thoughts. I have to be really honest, okay? I have a bias towards Sarah J. Maas. I know that a lot of people don't like her, and I understand a lot of people's critiques about the way that she writes her books. I understand it, okay? I get where you're coming from. But unfortunately, because I started reading her at the age of 13, and because she has written some of my favorite books of all time, I just love the way that she tells stories. I get that they can be cringy sometimes. I get that they can be imperfect. I get that it can be confusing or overwhelming, or sometimes she just drags the books on for too long. Those are all critiques that I could potentially place on this book, and I understand that. And if someone else had written this book, perhaps I would have given it a lower star rating than I did. But because the way Sarah J. Maas is so nostalgic to me and it's just so familiar, it's like coming home to my favorite books because she just writes so consistently in every single book. I gave this book 4 stars and I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm not, because I could admit that bias and still give it that rating. So sue me. No, but for real, I think that my thoughts stand true from the last clip, and that the first third or the first section of this book was my absolute favorite. It was so intriguing. I loved the plot that we were getting at the beginning, and it's what really sucked me in and hooked me to the story. Unfortunately, the second half-ish, maybe the last third, was not quite the gripping plot that I was really looking for. It was more like kind of what we were expecting to happen, final battle scenes, final war. And I'm not gonna lie, I love fantasy, but I don't really read it for the battle scenes. I can appreciate some good fighting action and, those kinds of scenes, but the ending war scenes are never what draws me to the book, It's the character growth and it's the political scheming and stuff that really intrigues me more. But overall, though, it in general was a good wrap-up of the story. I felt like I had a much better grip on what was happening in this book than I did in book 2. Maybe it was the fact that I read that one over a longer period of time. I mean, this did take me 8 days to read. It was, again, very long, so kind of standard with my 100 pages per day reading rate. But yeah, I do like where all of our characters ended at the end of this. I do think that Sarah loves her characters a lot, so she really doesn't kill off characters like some authors do. Some authors are vicious and will kill the main character in their books sometimes, but Sarah is not that kind of person, which I appreciate because, if I really love a character, I don't want them to be even in the smallest danger of not getting to the next book. But I will just say also, sometimes it does make things a little unrealistic in the war scenes when almost, not everyone, but almost everyone comes out unscathed. You gotta shake your head and move on from it. Again, Sarah is Sarah. She's not perfect, but I love her nonetheless. I'm not sure where she's gonna go into book 4 after this. I feel like this was a great conclusion to the trilogy. I do want to talk spoilers really quick, so if you haven't read this book yet, or this entire series, to be honest, because I might just be spoiling the entire series as well, I would skip this timestamp here on the screen so you'll miss all the spoilers. So I'll give you 2 more seconds. Skip. All right, spoilers starting right now. I want to talk about the characters individually for this book because I think it's just the easiest way to comprehend all the stuff that happened, because again, there's a lot of plot in this and I don't remember every single thing that happened, but I will just say, let's start with Bryce and Hunt. Bryce I like as a character, but she will never compare to Feyre, and even more so, of course, never compare to Aelin, who is my favorite female character of all time. I adore Aelin so much, and so Bryce will never compete. And in this book, to be honest, she made some decisions that I was like, why are you doing that? She pushing her parents into the world with Aegotar characters, which by the way, we'll get to that in just a second, but pushing them in there, I was like, that is so selfish and not thought out. And the way that she didn't tell people her plans, it just seemed very copy-paste of Aelin, but also she's a wannabe of Aelin, if that makes sense. So I don't really love Bryce's character towards the end of this book. Hunt, I think, was a great character all the way through. He's always supportive of Bryce. He is always generally making good decisions. I do think, though, that he does not stand out to me as the best book boyfriend in all of the SJM universes. I hate to be the one to break this to y'all. I know you're gonna hate me for this, but he gives Short King energy. He does. And I don't mean that in an offensive way. We love our Short Kings, but also he's just the backdrop to Bryce's plot, in my opinion. He doesn't bring anything new to the story, and I like him as a good guy, but he's just not in my top 20 of book boyfriends ever, not in the least. I will say though, Rune and Lydia, oh my gosh, I didn't love Rune in previous books. I mean, he was a great character, he was fine, but he wasn't my absolute favorite. But in this book, I was okay, Rune, and mostly because of Lydia. Lydia was my absolute favorite character in the entire book. She being the Hind, number one, crazy plot twist. Hind equals Lydia equals Daybright, blew my mind. I was not expecting her at all. I was actually expecting in book 1 for Daybright to be Celestina, but I prefer her being Lydia because I think Lydia's character grew so much in this book. Not only do we grow to love her, which is a crazy switch up from absolutely despising her in the first 2 books, but knowing that she is a mother and the sacrifices that she made for her sons was absolutely heartbreaking, and how she and Rune had their romance in this book book, I was like eating up all the crumbs. Do I think it was a little bit rushed and they rushed to say I love you when they rushed to become mates? Yeah, I do. I think it was a little bit fast, but I still ate up every single second of it. So, you know, who am I to judge? Oh, of course, I gotta bring up the ACOTAR characters. I adore any crumbs of Azriel I can get ever. And the fact that he and Nesta got little cameos, I mean, not little, they actually got huge chapters worth of their character in this book. Obviously, you know, because you've read this book or you just don't care about spoilers, I suppose. But Bryce opens up a portal to the world that ACOTAR lives in at the end of book 2. And so she spends a lot of the start of this book interacting with those characters, specifically Nesta and Azriel. And while I think that them going through the caves was just a little bit, I really loved seeing Nesta and Azriel together because they're two characters that I think just don't get a lot of time together in the ACOTAR series, and I loved seeing a little bit more growth with them and learn more about them. And again, any snippet of Azriel ever, I will watch him, I don't know, do his laundry. I will watch him sleep. Like, I don't care. I love Azriel so much. I cannot wait for his book. And again, little snippets in here, they give me chills. I'm so excited for the next book. ACOTAR and Crescent City being intertwined is such a cool concept, and I think it was really interesting to read about. Tharian, he makes so many mistakes, but I gotta love him for it. Declan, my king, my cyber security king. Who else was in this book? Adriana, the dragon, that's her name, right? I want more about her, and I think that's the one thread that was left untied, I guess, at the end of this book, was that Tharian said hello to her and the chapter ended. Unfortunately, I'm like, okay, so we might be getting a book 4. Then I googled it and we are. So again, I think that I will still definitely read it because it's Sarah and I will read anything that she writes, but I do want more out of the dragon's character because I think that would be really, really cool to dive into. What else? Jessica's sacrifice. I like Jessica well enough. I'm glad that she got her happiness in the afterlife, I suppose, and brought Bryce back. Bryce dying and coming back is so similar to Rhysand dying and coming back at the end of Echo War that it was honestly kind of annoying. I was like, Sarah, babes, we gotta pick a different way to end a book than this, because the minute that Bryce was dead, I was like, no, she's not. Of course she's not. She's gonna come back to life. I don't know how, but she will. So like, I'm not worried about it, you know? I didn't feel like the stakes were as strong because I know Sarah and I know that she's not actually gonna be gone. So do I think that Sarah could take a little more risk with the way that she does her plots? Yes. But again, did I love this book nonetheless because it is nostalgic for me and I love finishing out a series of these characters and I love learning more about Lydia, my queen, and Nesta and Az. Yeah, I did. Anyway, all that being said, I've been talking for like 15 minutes, so I'm gonna count the spoilers as over. But yeah, this was such a satisfying accomplishment to finish all 800 pages of this brick. I could put her on my shelf, be very happy about it, and cross it off my series to continue list until book 4 gets announced, I suppose. I will talk to you guys in the next clip when I have another book. I'll see you then. You may have seen my recent reading vlog where I took you guys book shopping with me, and in that video I bought one of my most anticipated books of the entire year that also coincidentally has intimidated me so much. I have been watching my fellow book creators on YouTube and Instagram posting about this book, and just seeing it like makes me so scared to read it. Yeah, at the same time I'm also incredibly excited because I know deep down this is gonna be a 5-star, and that's scary to me for some reason. But if you didn't watch the vlog, if you don't know what I'm talking about, the book that I purchased yesterday that I am absolutely scared to my wits to pick up is Alchemised by Senlin Yu. This book, where do I even start with this book? For context, if you don't know, this is a fully published version of the book Manacled by the same author. Manacled is a Dramini fan fiction, so Draco and Hermione from Harry Potter, that also mixes in elements of The Handmaid's Tale. And I read that book last year, absolutely adored it. Probably was my best book of the entire year last year. It was so phenomenal, so heartbreaking and devastating, but so good. And I gave it 5 stars, obviously. But because it is a fan fiction, she can't publish that work because it is not like her creative entity. So she eventually wrote Alchemized, which is like the same story, but different world, different magic system, different characters. That way that she can publish it. And I totally think that she deserves this moment because this book is absolutely blowing up everywhere. Everybody is wanting to read it, especially on like YouTube and Instagram, TikTok. Everyone is picking up this book for the first time, and I think that she deserves all the hype in the world because her writing is so good. It's impeccably done, so hard-hittingly emotional while also using such beautiful vocabulary at the same time. It's just so good. And the thing is, because I've already read this story before, technically, like, I know it's going to be incredible. I know it's going to be just as heartbreaking as the first time that I read it. I know it's going to gut punch me as I read this literally 1,000-page brick. Like, it's hard to really show you on camera because it doesn't even look like it's 1,000 pages, to be honest. This book looks looks thinner than House of Flame and Shadow that we just read together. Like, it doesn't seem that thick, but it's because the paper is like Bible thin. I'm, again, terrified, but that's the point of today's vlog, is to actually like read books that are intimidating me and to pick up the ones that I would otherwise put off for like months. I think today's the day that we get into this. It's the end of September, almost October. The vibes of this cover obviously give like perfect gothic, autumnal, really dark, moody vibes, but I also know the content in this, and the content is so dark as well. Like, really one of the darkest books I've ever read in my entire life. If something triggers you, please look at the content warnings for this book. I don't know if they're listed in the book itself. Let me look. Yes, okay, so on the very like last couple of pages, it has a list of trigger warnings, and there's like a lot in here, like a lot. So please be careful. As someone who's read Manacled before, like, it really does not shy away from hitting those topics. So if something triggers you, it is not the time to pick up this book. Personally, whenever I read Manacled for the first time, I won't even lie, like, my mental health did take a little deep dive afterwards, because like, genuinely, I was so emotionally connected to this book, and seeing these characters go through what they go through, like, it is painful to read. But while saying that, I know that right now I'm in an okay place to pick this up, and I also know that I need to inhale this book again, because again, I know this is going to be a 5-star read. This is going to take me a couple weeks, I just know that, but I'm going to interdisperse it with other books as well, so I'm still getting content breaks and also reading more books in the month of October. It's going to be a journey. You're going to come along with me, and I hope that you're excited about it. So again, no spoilers. I'm gonna stop rambling. Let's just start. Literally one of my most anticipated books of the entire year. Read Alchemized, they said. It'll be fun, they said. We've got a reading update to talk about, besties. I'm currently in the middle, obviously, of reading Alchemized. I get the two names confused because it's almost the same book, but very, very different at the same time. I am on page 140 right now on the dot. So I would say I'm making a lot of progress, but as you can see, we've barely made a dent. I'm only 14% of the way through the book. That's what happens when you read an 1,000-page brick. I'm telling you, one thing you guys are doing is keeping me accountable for reading my chunky books. We need to talk because I have some opening thoughts about the book so far. I am already feeling so connected to the characters, which is good because I was nervous that because it's not Draco and Hermione that I wouldn't feel as attached to the characters, but I think the correlation is still strong enough, and I think that I still like feel so attached to it nonetheless. I love Helena so much, even only 14% of the way through. And the Draco character in this book, they call him by his last name a lot. His last name is Farron, but his first name, if I can find it, is Kane. So his name is Kane Farron. Honestly, solid name. It gives Draco vibes. I don't just want to compare this book to Harry Potter. Obviously, there are many, many discrepancies between the two series, and I also don't want to put any respect on Harry Potter's author's name. Goodness gracious. She is a... she's a person, that's for sure. Jesus, what a pig. Anyway, but I can't help but correlate the two in my mind together because Manacled is Hermione fanfiction, and this is kind of Manacled. So it just all works together in my head. I don't mean to like compare the two as if they're the exact same thing. But anyway, let's talk about the book so far and the concept of the book in case you've literally never heard of this before and you don't know anything about what it's about. In the context of Alchemized, we have our main character, Helena, who wakes up after 14 months of being in this stasis where she is alive, but she is completely unconscious and she only has vague memories. That's a lie. Her memories are gone from the past 14 months, but she remembers like thinking that she needs to stay alive and that she needs to stay not conscious, but still with us kind of. And she wakes up in this like laboratory, and this person is doing like mental examinations, like using magic and examining her brain and wondering how she's still alive and what's going on. And as the world expands, because truly this is a very, very complex world, like it disguises itself, but this really is like high fantasy. And Senlin Yu has done a lot of work to like make a magic system, make a world system that is different from Hogwarts, but is so complex nonetheless. So in this world, we have necromancers and we also have vivimancers. I think what the difference is, and I was confused on it for a while, but I think necromancers like revive the dead, where vivimancers can do the same kind of powers, but for the living. Helena wakes up again and she's being analyzed and scrutinized, and turns out this is after some great war had happened. So 14 months previously, I think is the timeline here, is when the war had ended and she was captured and intended to be murdered, I think. Supposedly everyone she knows and loves is dead and was killed in the war. The few people that she does recognize are now being used basically as forced labor for the evil side, the bad guy in this book. I think the big bad, like the really big bad, who's supposed to be Voldemort, I'm pretty sure his name is Morrow. Yeah, Morrow is his name, Mourrough. And essentially what they're doing is trying to pierce into her mind, because she has 14 months of memories that are completely inaccessible, like by her or by anyone else, even with their really intense telepathy powers that they call, again, more terminology, give me a second. They call it transference, and the power that they have, I actually like tabbed it because it's really weird and different from what I've ever heard of before. So basically, I'm going to read you directly from the book. It says, there is this element called lumithium, and by nature lumithium bound the four elements of air, water, earth, and fire together, and in that binding, resonance was created. So resonance is, I think, the mind powers, the mind telepathy powers that you can have. Not everyone has it, but you can have. You can develop, you can learn, you can research it. Usually resonance was channeled into the alchemy of metals and inorganic compounds. That's why it's called alchemized, because you could be an alchemist and use that magic to embed into metals, I assume. Or you can rebel against the natural laws, and the resonance could be corrupted, which enables vivimancy, which is what our main character Helena has, which is the power to manipulate, I guess, the living. Or also the necromancy, which is used to create necrothralls, which is what they call like the people who have been given life again after they die, or like input a soul into a person, like a corpse after they die. Again, it's complicated. I'm not explaining this well at all, and I really understand that, and I'm trying my best here to like make it as simplified as possible, but I'm still trying to wrap my head around it myself, so I apologize for the confusion. All that to say, though, is that very, very complex world, very difficult world, and again, they're trying to figure out her memories, and they're very confused as to how she is still alive after 14 months straight of stasis. So what they did was they brought her to the High Reeve, who is Cain Farron, and he is supposed to be doing these like monthly transferences to like peer into her brain, try to pick back those layers and actually unearth those secrets and memories that she herself can't even access, but also that nobody else can. And they're wondering how someone could like bury these things so deep, because she was part of the resistance during the war before she was captured, and I'm sure that there's very valuable information that she does have hidden up in there, but she doesn't know what it is and no one else does, and they don't know who could have done it, but I'm pretty sure it's just Helena's own powers that did it to herself. And they insinuated that, but they were like, nah, that can't be. But I think she's that girl. I think she's strong enough to do that. So that's where we are in the book so far. Knowing what I know about Manacled, it's hard to talk about Alchemized because I know where this is going, and I don't want to spoil because of what I inherently know that I forget isn't like what's not given to the public for Alchemized, if that makes sense. So trying to like watch what I say here. As far as pacing goes of the book, it is paced quite well. It is obviously so long, and you wonder how she can write so many words to fill this many pages, but genuinely like the 140 pages felt like half of that length. Like, is there a lot happening? Technically no. Like, it's her being examined, it's her going to Cain Farron's house, it's her doing the monthly examinations and trying to figure out her own trauma and deal with her new situation now that she has been essentially brought back to life technically. even though she was never dead in the first place. And so it's really not that much content to work through, but it's a lot of world building mixed in. It's some memories and flashbacks mixed in, especially of stuff during the war that she is kind of remembering herself. There's also a lot of character growth. There is world building. There is just a lot of really interesting stuff kind of mixed in together. And I do like how Senlin Yu recognizes that she has a very complex system that she's building up together. And so she doesn't just info dump you the entire system on page 2. It's given to you in bite-sized pieces as you need it. And so that's very helpful to be able to retain the information because it's only given to you when you actually to apply it to what's happening in the scene, if that makes sense. But again, triggers, please watch them and please adhere to them because truly she never holds back on her writing, like ever. Like she is very, very depictive of some things and it's moving and that's why it's good, but it's also hard to read. We're working our way through it. We're chugging along. And I honestly think that 140 pages in like 24 hours-ish is pretty good because again, she is a chunky book. Oh, last little update. I did do my nails last night. I was inspired by the gothic cover of this book and also I just wanted to try something new. So I did these like black nails. They're literally so pointy. Usually whenever I do them myself, by the way, I like buff the edges so they're like shorter and rounded, but I literally left them perfectly pointy this time. And I also like I don't know if you can see it, but they're like kind of transparent. Will it show you? Hopefully you could see that. But like the paint is purposefully transparent so that it's kind of see-through and kind of like blends away towards the end. From far away you can't tell, but from close up it's like kind of cool. I don't know. I like to experiment with my nails. So trying something new for almost October. It's like the 29th right now. So we're almost in October. And I feel like it matches the gothic vibes of Alchemized. So that's my update for y'all. I'm gonna get back to work and I'll talk to you a little later. It has been days since I've talked to this camera for this reading vlog. I think it's honestly been probably like a week-ish since I've spoken on this one. I've been like doing so much. I say it all the time. I like have 3 jobs. I'm like a college kid. I'm a president of a club. I'm in a Bible study. I'm doing all this stuff. So I'm always like tackling so much at once. Do I need to manage my work-life balance better? Yeah, we do, but that's okay. Not a conversation for this video right now. What we're talking about are books that are intimidating me, and I'm very happy to come on here and say that I actually hit the 50% mark in Alchemized. This is where I'm at right now. Smack dab in the middle of this chunky book. And you know what? I have been reading relatively consistently. I'd like to say that I read almost every night before bed and almost every morning when I wake up because I am annotating this and because I really just want to sit in this experience. Like, number one, I'm trying not to push myself to read too fast. I'm trying to let myself live with it, even though it's been like a week and a half and I've only gotten through 500 pages, which is usually insane for me. And I would usually be like mad at myself, which is honestly also not valid either. I need to like not pressure myself to read. But for this book specifically, I'm like, this book is a heart wrencher. It is a journey to go through and you have very limited time to read and you're annotating it. So like I'm letting myself take my time with this one. I have been annotating. If you can see, there are definitely tabs for the first 50%. I've been writing all of my notes in the margins, highlighting and all that stuff. Yeah, this book is dark and I knew it was going to be dark and I knew that going into it, you know, but it's just like what I thought was only going to be vaguely mentioned has indeed been mentioned in quite detail and specifics, and it makes me very uncomfortable to talk about and read. So yeah, SA, very detailed and graphic in this. And I would say too, without spoiling, that it was honestly SA for both people involved, which is kind of a weird one to argue. You have to read the book to understand because I'm not going to spoil it, but I will just say that everybody involved in the situation is experiencing immense trauma because every single person. Yeah, you really can't read this book without going through that. And again, if any of these triggers bother you, do not pick this book up. Do not. I know it's hard because of the hype, but I'm serious. Like if this will bother you, it will genuinely affect your mental health. Don't pick this up because it does not shy away from getting detailed and serious and intense about these things. Speaking of getting serious and intense about these things, I will just say also this book I've realized is quite parallel to real life. Like I appreciate that honestly. When you can read a fantasy book or just any fiction story like sci-fi, dystopia, whatever it is, and the author like is kind of telling you through metaphor that they're making like a political commentary about like real life. Like for example, the main girl in this book, Helena, she is like an immigrant. And on the surface, that's like, you know, whatever. But then you think about it and you're like, I think Senlin Yu is making a statement here about how immigrants are being treated specifically in the US, but also like any country, I suppose. But like obviously in America right now, we are not at all unified in how we should treat immigrants as basic human beings, you know? I think that the government that is in place right now is doing some absolutely horrific things. And I think that Senlin Yu is making a statement about things like that in a book like this because of the way that we dive into the treatment of Helena, because of where she came from and because she was different than the people here and all that stuff. That's just like one small facet. There's also questions about like religion and power structures and who in the country actually controls it. Is it people in charge? Is it the people who have the money? Is it the people with the businesses? Things like that. There's so much about like souls and ethics, about like regenerating souls, obviously with this whole necromancy thing. Like there are layers in this book, you know? And if you want to open your eyes and really see that, like Senlin Yu again is not holding back, and she's making very, very clear points. And it honestly is very moving and incredibly well done. So I would say that this book isn't just like, you know, devastating fantasy, because it is that, and it also has the romance in it. But I would say that just as much as things like romance in this book is also things like political commentary and social commentary. And let's talk about these hard topics, because Senlin Yu has a platform and she's going to say what she wants to say. And honestly, I applaud her for that. Like, it's incredible, but it is also deeply, deeply painful and heartbreaking to read about, which is why, again, I'm spreading out my experience of reading this book, because I cannot inhale this in like 3 days and not experience serious devastation from it. Because I did read Manacled before, like a lot of this book is not new to me. So am I experiencing like the pain? Yeah, I am, but it is not nearly at the same scale as it was when I read Manacled for the first time last year. I think I read it very quickly and it really hit me like a brick. And for the next like couple of days, genuinely, my mental health was like plummeting afterwards. And from what I'm seeing about people online as well, they are doing very similar things. Because obviously, like if you're addicted to a book, you want to read it quickly, which I totally understand. But it's like you also have to realize that what you're reading is not normal. Like this is not okay. And as humans, we're going to like react to that emotionally. And so another reason why I'm trying to just like make sure that I'm staying healthy, even despite reading this, is taking it slower on the reread. But I know that if I was my first time reading this, or reading this story, again, it's my first time reading Alchemized, but Manifold is the original story, that would be an even more emotional experience for me. So I would definitely caution you guys as well if you're reading this for the first time. This entire clip is basically me just like scaring people away from this book. I'm trying to be very like give you all the things I love about the book, but also give you the warnings with this book so that you go into it with a very informed mind if you decide to pick this up, or not, because you definitely don't have to. But all that to say, like, I don't know if it's coming across because I'm like cautioning people against it so much, but genuinely this is absolutely going to be in my top 5 books of the entire year, if not like my top 3 or my top 1. Like genuinely, this book is incredible. It has everything I'm looking for. It has the political intrigue, it has fantasy elements, it has a complex world building that makes me think, it has some romance in it, some devastating romance. And where I'm in the book, we've only hit the peak of the iceberg. If you didn't know, this book is structured in that like the first 25% takes place in present time, and then for the next like 50%, literally half of the book, it's like a book within a book, because the middle section is a flashback like for 500 pages to 3 years prior during the war. And then the last 75 to 100% of the book is going back to present time again and reconciling after we now know what happened in the past. Same structure as Manacled. I think it's very interesting way to do things, but I think it's so effective in this book specifically because of what happens in this book. And I think that Senlin Yu crafts it slowly and deliberately so that you have to go through the journey like in this specific way, because it will wreck you as you do so. And it just stands out among anything else. Like, do I love, what's a book series? Like Akotar. I love Akotar. And that series is so much fun. I adore the characters. There's some political intrigue in it. I think it's really, really great. Does it stand up to it? No, because it doesn't hit me emotionally as this book does. Again, I love Akotar series. They're all 4.5, 5 stars. It's fantastic. But this is better. So I can already tell you this is going to be a 5-star because like this is standing above that. Does that make sense? Like I can absolutely adore a series and give it the absolute best rating possible. And yet there are some books that will just hit you and absolutely break your rating system, and you have no choice but to give it 5, 6, 10 stars. And that is what Alchemized is doing to me. So this vlog is not for my rating. It's for me to finish like recording my time reading it and experiencing it. I don't think I have anything else more to say. To be honest, I just need to like actually pick up the camera more as I vlog the rest of this. So yeah, that's it. Wish me luck as I finish the second half of this book. You may recognize me from the beginning of this video, hello again, but I'm here finally to talk to you about finishing Alchemized by Senlin Yu. I started this book on September 28th and I finished it last night, yesterday being October 25th. Embarrassing. It actually took me a month to read this. Anyway. I'm laughing because it's like actually insane. I don't think I've ever read a book for that long besides like a nonfiction book or a book I read for like a class, something like that. And considering this was a reread for me and a very highly anticipated book, part of me is like shocked that it took me that long to read it. But the other half of me is number one, okay with it because this book has such heavy content that we've talked about in this vlog before that like it kind of needed to be taken in slowly and not like overwhelm me like emotion wise. And also, as y'all know, I've been saying this, my schedule is so busy. You've probably seen it because my posting schedule has been kind of iffy recently. Like things have been moved around, things have been delayed, and part of the reason is because I don't have much time to sit down and read a book like this, especially one that is 1,020 pages. So all that being said, did it take me genuinely a month to read one single book? Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. But I did finish it last night. I do feel incredibly proud of myself, and it is without a doubt, without a singular doubt, a 5-star book. Absolutely. I mean, did I go into this expecting that? Yeah. And was I proven wrong? No, I was not. I was right. It's 5 stars. It's incredible. It's a masterpiece. Quite possibly the best book of the entire year. As it should. Now, here's the thing. I talked a lot about this book so far on the vlog. I didn't want to do any spoiler sections because I feel like this was one that you just have to experience. And if I was to get into spoilers, I would ramble for half an hour, and we don't need that in this already very long vlog. But I do want to talk about a couple things non-spoiler wise that I wrote in my notes right here, just to kind of go over like my general final thoughts. Now, first of all, did I shed a tear? Yes. But did I shed many tears? No. And I was actually thinking about this. So the first time that I read this book, obviously when I read Manacled last year, I read it so fast, inhaled it in under a week, even like at the full length that it is. And I went through such an emotion like roller coaster that a couple days afterwards, I was like struggling mentally because of it. We talked about this. So like I said, I wanted to go through this one slower, but I think part of the experience in doing that, although I did kind of spare myself from that like emotional, like depressive thing that happened last time, I also just didn't feel physically like emotion as much as I did the first time. Like I wasn't crying, I wasn't like screaming at the book, you know? Part of it was because it was a slower reading experience. The other part was I already knew what was going to happen, so it wasn't shocking and surprising to me. It was just like a pit of dread in my stomach the entire book, and I knew how it was going to end. I knew everything that was going to happen. I was anticipating it like with a pit of like just in my stomach, you know? So with that being said, I didn't sob, I didn't like gasp, and this vlog wasn't as like emotionally reactive to this book as a couple other like YouTubers that I've seen because I knew it was coming and I knew the content, and it's just dark and that's just the point. But at the same time, like don't take that as me not absolutely adoring this, because this is like an actual masterpiece. Like, is it long? Yes. Is it too long? No. And don't ask me how she does it, but she does. Like every scene is perfectly timed, paced. We get just as much information as we need for this very complex world and magic system and plot and politics and all that stuff, but it's not overwhelming and it doesn't get boring, and we're always moving and pushing the story forward. And I don't know how she could keep me interested for this long, but genuinely, like I was not bored. Like it's just well written. Prose is great. It's not overly flowery, but it's still very emotionally impactful. The characters are so complex. Like when you talk about morally gray, these characters are morally gray. And that actually brings me to my first like point on my notes was I want to talk about Cain Farron specifically. He's a love interest in this book, and the High Reeve character. His character is so complex in this book. And I won't talk about everything that happens, but I will just say that this definitely is an enemies to lovers relationship. And again, it's not a romance book, but it has a romance subplot in it. And the enemy, aka like the love interest, the MMC in this book is really the villain. Like he does a lot. And at the end of this book, he's kind of reckoning with that. People argue about it on the internet all the time about whether or not he's like a good person or not. I mean, obviously like he's done so many bad things. I personally like sympathize a lot with him, and I can recognize, okay, you've made so many mistakes in the past, but where you are now, we can forgive you and move on because we know where his heart is, and we've seen the struggles and the torture and everything that he's gone through this entire time, if that makes sense. So personally, I am a lover and adorer of Cain Farron. He's actually like top 10 book boyfriends in my list. Like he's phenomenal, but at the same time, he's phenomenal because he has struggled so much and he has so much self-hatred, to be honest. That sounds terrible, but like it's true. And again, his complexity is so interesting. Everyone can read this character and take a different perspective on him, I think. I think Helena, everyone loves her, and I think that's so well deserved. I think outside of the book, she is just everyone's favorite, and I think she's a queen. I adore her. She is so strong and courageous, and she has so much in her that people are just not respecting. And in the book, they do not respect her the way that I do, but like everyone who reads this book, we all love this girl. So like Helena, I think is just a phenomenal character, but we all could agree on that. I think Cain is interesting because we can differ on our opinions, but personally, I adore him and I think he's just fantastic. Talking about the story being rewritten in history, I won't get into spoilers and specifics about this, but I will just say among the many other things that Céline Yu is writing that is a direct correlation to like real experiences and our real government and things like that. Specifically, one thing towards the end of this book was about history being rewritten to cover the sins of the past and to kind of cloak them and mask them until they're hidden through generations of history. And it's a bittersweet ending, I'll tell you that. Just so you know, there is some version of a happy ending at it, which thank God. If there was like a devastating ending, I think I would just like not be able to vlog. I think I would just like not be able to read this, actually. It would just be too much for me. But there is some version of a happy ending at the end of this, so you know that going into it, it's not gonna be completely devastating, although it is, but you know what I'm saying. But there is a bitter part of that ending too, where it's like the history and the struggles and so much that went on through this book is being taught to the next generation and taught to everybody as not as bad, if that makes sense. And they're trying to hide, again, the sins of the past. And how many times, specifically in American history, at least is what I'm exposed to, have a country just taken things that we have done and just kind of pushed them out of the history books and ignored them so people don't think bad about us. It's an issue, it's a problem. And I think that was touched on at the end of this book in a really, really interesting way. And again, it's heartbreaking, but it's real. And I love Céline Yu for doing the heartbreaking and real things throughout the entirety of this book. There is a lot of essay in this book. I talked to you guys about this earlier and about the content warnings and the trigger warnings. Make sure you really, really watch that because it really is very dark. But I was watching Mariana's vlog reading this book and I thought that she had a very interesting take on it. I don't know her personally, so I can't say anything like specifically about her, but she said in her vlog that she is a victim of that herself, and reading the perspective of a character in this book who goes through that and makes it out on the other side can be really, really triggering for some people. And I definitely understand if you need to stay away. But from her perspective, she says that as someone who is like years out of that situation and has let time like help her recover and heal from it, she thought it was really empowering to read Helena's story because she could see someone who is also making it through and out the other side, if that makes sense. And I thought that was a very interesting take on it as well. Listening to her talk about it that way was very insightful for me. And I do think that, once again, like these are real topics, but I think that Céline Yu handles them in such a graceful and delicate way while still like packing such a punch, you know? So yeah. Honestly, no flaws. Like the characters, phenomenal. Plot, phenomenal. Always moving. Writing, great. The religion, the politics, like everything that was built in this book. And the comparison to Manacled, this is such a heavy book. Okay, I need to switch hands, but I want to talk about like why I think this is actually better than Manacled. I adore Manacled, don't get me wrong, but that being said, I think this was better than the Germani fan fiction that Manacled was, which is great. I wanted Céline Yu to take what she had already written and improve it, and she really did. And I was scared to go into this book that I wouldn't connect to the characters as much as I did with Draco and Hermione, but Helena and Cain mean so much to me. And I just think that the world building was better in this, and the magic system was better because she developed it herself. Like, it's a necromancy magic system with alchemy and death and the undying and things like that. So interesting, so complex and creative. And do I understand all of it? No, but that's okay. You know, I think maybe on a reread, if I ever decide to reread this, which would be like a choice, I will understand it more. But yeah, I think it is better. I think it's very similar, and I do not think you need to read Manacled to read this because it would be like reading the exact same story twice, but I think that if you had to choose one, choose this 100%. Number one, to support Céline Yu monetarily, and number two, because I think it just genuinely is a better book, and it's better written, and it just improves on what was already perfection before. Now we have perfection plus like 10%, you know? So yeah, any other notes on this? I think that's all I got, to be honest. I honestly could yap for hours and hours, and last night I was texting my friends, I was like, I just finished this book that I've been reading for a month, and I don't know what to feel. Like, I shed a tear or two because it was like emotional, especially at the very, very last page. But it's also like, I just feel so satisfied and complete, but also empty at the ending, if that makes sense. It's such a weird paradox. But yeah, do I recommend this? 1010%. Should everybody read this? No. they should not. And you need to decide for yourself if it's a good book for you to pick up. But that being said, if you do decide to pick this up, it is going to be probably a top book of the entire year for you, because it absolutely was for me. So with that being said, in this vlog, we read Alchemized, and let me go grab the other book. And we also read House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas. With these two books together, this is 800 pages plus 1,000. I just read 1,800 pages with these two put together in today's vlog. Did it take me a month and a half? Yes. Yes, it did, but I'm still happy that these are both off of my physical TBR nonetheless, because these are both incredible reads. 4-star for this one, 5 bajillion stars for Alchemized, and I couldn't be happier that this vlog is finally done, so we can move on to other ones in the future. So I hope you guys really enjoyed today's very delayed video, but fun nonetheless. I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching. As always, subscribe. I post new reading vlogs. I was gonna say every Thursday. At this point, it's not every Thursday, but it's as often as I can do it, okay? I try my best. So I hope you guys stick around for the next one. Have a great week. And if you want to watch my most recent book video from my channel, I'll have it linked here on the screen.